Hey, this is Kyle Byron. Let's talk about food poisoning. Every year in Canada, there's about 4,000 hospitalizations from the severe illness from food poisoning and about 100 deaths from food poisoning. This is completely preventable. And then in addition to that, there's like thousands of people every year that will just be pooing their pants and not be able to go to work or not be able to go on a date, and they're just like in a lot of pain. And in Calgary right now, there's about 20 children who are hospitalized from the E. Coli outbreak and 170 approximately others that are extremely sick. So just try to imagine like your child, like diarrhea for 2 days, can't keep any food down, losing weight, sick, crying for days and days and days. This is completely preventable, and this is negligence on the part of the company that served this food, although I'm not a lawyer. When I was in grad school, okay, I'm in the Hamilton pediatric, the Hamilton Sick Kids Hospital, and there's this kid, multiple organ failure from E. coli poisoning, and the dietitian was like, yeah, there's nothing they can do. There's no medicine for this. They just have to sort of wait this out. Maybe this kid is going to make it, maybe not. And I was like, Jesus. So after that, I took food poisoning a lot more seriously and food safety. So we've got E. coli poisoning, salmonella, listeria. Those are the common types, and there's like a few others. So where does it come from? So first of all, agriculture. Okay, so we're growing like spinach, okay, and then we're going to use some manure to like fertilize that, and then there's some E. coli on the manure, and then that doesn't get washed off. That's why we wash our vegetables 3 times, or especially the leafy stuff, or like alfalfa sprouts, you wash that like 3 to 4 times in fresh water. So vegetables can become contaminated. Chickens naturally have salmonella, so we have to cook them to 165 Fahrenheit, or you can cook it to about 150 Fahrenheit and hold that temperature for 10 minutes. Apparently, don't quote me on that, but that's how I cook my chicken. A guy who had a sous vide, he taught me that, and then the chicken is a lot more tender. But by the book, the safe temperature for chicken is 165 Fahrenheit. Contaminated hands and knives and cutting boards. Like, look at this cutting board. Okay, it has all these little like hacks in it. Bacteria love to get in these little things here, so we have to obviously wash this in the dishwasher, which is like a food safe thing. It gets boiling hot, and it can kill all the bacteria. But imagine like you're in a party, someone's cooking, like, oh, I'm chopping up some ground beef, or I guess you might not do that, but you might chop up some chicken, and then Joe comes over and he's like, hey, it's time to cut up the celery, and then boom, celery's like contaminated. That happens like all the time. And then hands, of course, like you're making some food or whatever, you're like tossing a salad or something, and is like, oh, you gotta do this or whatever, you like touch your butt and you don't wash your hands, like in the bathroom, you come back, la. That's obviously disgusting, but that happens a lot as well. So the food safety guy that came to St. FX, oh, I don't have my ring on. This food safety guy that came to St. FX, he went into this restaurant and there was a guy arm deep in like a thing of rice, like just stirring the rice, like arm deep, no glove on, nothing. And the food safety guy was like, bro, we gotta talk. And so they didn't get the green sticker that day. All this stuff happens though. How else can you get food poisoning? Something that was safe, like we make like a macaroni salad and it's all safe and everything, and then we go to the picnic and it's like in the sun, it's like 100 degrees Fahrenheit, it's like a hot day, 35. And then the bacteria that are there already, but like not at a contaminated dose, they're like partying, they're like multiplying, and then that macaroni salad is now poisonous. That happens all the time. So got to keep that stuff like cold. If it's cold, you got to keep it cold. If it's hot, you got to keep it hot. There's like this danger zone. It's about 5 Celsius to about 60 Celsius. That's the danger zone. And anything in there, the bacteria are like partying and stuff like that, over, I think it's 60 Celsius, they die. They die. Just like you wouldn't want to be in a hot tub that hot, you might also die. Don't quote me on that. But that's why we keep hot food hot. So if you're ever like at a soup cafeteria and the soup is like just kind of tepid, like just kind of lukewarm, do not eat that. You could die. When you're serving soup, it should be boiling hot or ice cold. That's why refrigerators are cold. That slows down the bacteria growth. How else can you get sick? Raw milk, which is a very fashionable thing. Raw milk has no special like bacteria, no special features, but like there's a lot of people right now that are into raw milk. They think it's better somehow. They're misinformed, and it's very dangerous. You can get listeria. Listeria can kill you. Listeria can get into your nervous system. The effects can last for 70 days. So anyone drinking raw milk out there, that's cool. You do you, but you're trifling with your life. and that of your loved ones if you're serving it to them. All right, so let's talk about some risk factors. High surface area food. So I have this like roast pork. I smoked this thing. So delicious. It has about like 6 or 8 sides. But if I throw this in a meat grinder, now it has like infinite sides. That's the surface area. So things like a macaroni salad or ground beef or like steak tartare or alfalfa sprouts, high surface area. The bacteria can proliferate and like really just grow and expand, where there might be like a little bit of bacteria on that, maybe. Well, it's out in the air. Bacteria is kind of everywhere, so there's definitely some bacteria on that, but a small dose, not the infectious dose. So surface area, keep an eye on that. Being in a hurry, like I said, with like me and like Joe or whatever who it was, like chopping up vegetables, like being in a hurry, things get cross-contaminated, like the hands and the knives and all that. So just generally not respecting food safety or not respecting food poisoning and being in a hurry. Not using a meat thermometer, so like you don't have to have an expensive thing, whatever, this is like $5 or $10. But when you're cooking things like chicken or pork or fish, or even like eggs, like raw eggs, like sometimes we'll undercook our eggs, we'll have them dippy. That is a small food poisoning risk. Obviously the economic struggles of, the planet. So people buying like foods that are on sale and it says like, cook this tonight, like it's gonna go bad and it's on sale, but then they don't cook it that night and maybe they undercook it and then they get sick. So like economic pressures can create risk for food poisoning. 2 people can eat the same thing that is like contaminated and not get sick. Like the dose could be different. Like 1 bite could mean the difference between getting sick and not getting sick, because our stomach acid and our immune system can fight off like a certain amount of it, but then there could be an infectious dose. Also, different people are going to have different strengths of their guts. Like taking probiotics is a good thing. Some people generally have better immune systems. That's partly genetic and then partly related to their diet and their sleep and their exercise habits. All right, so how to prevent food poisoning. Know your safe cooking temperatures. Just Google it really fast. Remember this, 2 to 4. So you want to keep your leftovers in something that's 2 inches thin, so it goes into the fridge like at room temperature, and then the fridge can like cool this thing down, as opposed to something that's really thick, like you put a whole pot in the fridge. Don't do that. Don't put hot things in the fridge. 2 to 4. 2 inches, 2 hours. It can be out at a picnic, 2 hours, and then 4 days in the fridge. So we cooked this on Sunday, so it was done, whatever, plus 4 days. That is 2 to 4. 2 to 4. 2 inches, 2 hours out, and then 4 days in the fridge. Generally, take probiotics is good to prevent food poisoning. That's not like gonna fix it for sure, but that can help a little bit. Don't cram your fridge full of food, because then like the outside stuff can't get cold. Keep opening the fridge and stuff like that. And again, that's a risk. If you're at a party and you've got like a macaroni salad in there and then you get a bunch of beers in there and people are like, drinking all the beers, that fridge is not cold anymore. That macaroni salad is in the danger zone. If you think you have food poisoning, now I'm not a doctor, so really don't quote me on this, but I suggest you induce vomiting, because sometimes for me, I feel like my stomach's going and the bacteria are like wee, and like my stomach acid isn't killing them and getting more and more bloated. I think my lower esophageal sphincter, like the bottom of my stomach, is like no one's going anywhere, and it like sort of stops food from going into my intestine. When I feel that happening, I'm pulling the trigger, and then usually I feel better. Garlic actually has antimicrobial properties. So one time I had food poisoning, I was like, fuck it. And I was just like eating like tons of garlic. I mixed it in with some avocados, and it tasted so burny. It burned down, and then my stomach was like percolating, but I swear I think that helped. And then I did that experiment on my girlfriend at the time, and it worked on her as well. So there are antimicrobial properties in garlic. Don't quote me on the whole eating like a bunch of garlic thing, but you heard it here. Monitor your symptoms if you think you have food poisoning, and talk to people. Be like, hey Bob, like I think I got food poisoning. Like we were at like Happy Clown Burger, and now I'm sick. So maybe watch out, or maybe you should induce like vomiting, whatever. Okay, so joking aside, food poisoning can kill you, and it can kill your loved ones. The slightly less worst case scenario than that is you can be like really, really sick. And kids being sick is just really awful. Having children, I know, it's really tough. It's completely preventable with knowing the rules, knowing your cooking temperatures, keep your hands clean, keep your kitchen clean, go slow, know what you're doing. If there's like a meat cutting board and a veg cutting board, if you're doing a family cookout, Call it out. The sink is contaminated. I put something in there. Or that knife is contaminated. And you know what else is a huge risk? Baby boomers. They don't give a fuck about food like my mom's in the kitchen. Sorry, Mom, I love you. Hope she doesn't see this video. She's got her hands on the raw burgers, the frozen burgers, and she's like separating with her hands, and then she goes and just grabs like a tea towel and like wipes her hand on that. I'm like, Mom. She's like, wow, whatever. I love my mom, raised me. My mom raised me, and I love my mom. Man, she gets a bit sloppy with the whole food poisoning thing. One criticism, sorry. But yeah, those boomers, man, you'll be fine. All right, so thanks for watching. Hit me up in the comments if you have any questions or additional information. Use the national resources, like either in the States. Again, when you Google things, go for the national resources like the US DA or like Health Canada when you're finding these resources on food poisoning. And thoughts and prayers for the kids in the hospital right now in Calgary. And this is totally preventable, okay? Just be careful out there and take it seriously, and then enjoy your food, knowing that it's safe.